Before entering the sport of boxing, Jake Paul dominated the YouTube scene. Amassing over 20 million subscribers, he was one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in his prime. Now, he's on a mission to conquer the boxing world. With a current record of 6 wins, 0 losses with 4 KOs, he is currently regarded as the best YouTube boxer in the sport. But how did a Disney and YouTube star become a star in the fight game? In today's video, we'll take a trip back into the past to see how Jake Paul's career as a boxer came about and how far he's come along. Let's get right into it. Jake's journey into the boxing scene started from the famous call-out by KSI after his win against Joe Weller in the ring on February 3, 2018. KSI called out Jake and Logan Paul and literally any of the Pauls to fight him in the ring for his next match. At first, it seemed as if Jake or Logan were too scared to fight JJ and joked about having their father Greg Paul fight KSI, since JJ did in fact call him out as well. Eventually, after all the back and forth, Logan took up the fight with KSI on August 5, 2018, where Jake also debuted in the amateur boxing scene by fighting JJ's younger brother, Deji. As both Jake and Deji were new to the ring, Jake had a slight upper hand as he was a wrestler in high school. However, Deji proved to be a worthy component and actually busted Jake's nose in the fight, leaving him bloody. Unfortunately for Deji, Jake came out as the victor, which was the fuel he needed to keep the flame going. Jake's next fight came a couple years later in 2020, and it was his debut as a professional boxer against the 7-figure Gibber. According to KSI, this fight was supposed to be an easy win for Gibb as he was already a talented boxer himself and had been training for years before Jake entered the sport. However, this was the first time Jake shocked the crowd as he finished Gibb via first-round knockout. Unfortunately for Jake, he wasn't really able to prove much of his skill, as it was a quick fight, but he did get his name buzzing around. About a year later, Jake would be facing Nate Robinson for his second pro match as part of the undercard for the Mike Tyson vs. Roy Jones Jr. exhibition match. Jake won the fight with a KO during the second round, and it was a brutal one. Robinson face planted onto the canvas and was out cold immediately. The knockout birthed Jake's second meme to add to his collection of his opponents he defeated, the first being Crab Gibb, of course. After his insane knockout against Nate, Jake Paul went on to fight retired UFC welterweight champ Ben Askren. Although this bout did take a while before it happened, Ben eventually accepted Jake's challenge and the fight was set in April 2021. In true Jake Paul style, he delivered a knockout in barely a minute, bringing Ben down just in the first round of the fight. With this, Jake proved yet again to the world that he was truly a force to be reckoned with, but unfortunately was still unable to showcase his true talent to the world. However, some may say this was an extremely easy fight for Jake from the jump, as Askren clearly didn't take this fight seriously. I mean, have you seen the photo of his weigh-in and sparring footage before the fight? Yikes. Regardless, it was another win and KO secured for the problem child. Up to this point, Jake hadn't fought anyone who posed a real threat to him. But that would change with his bout with former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley in Cleveland. Woodley proved to be Jake's toughest opponent yet, as he went the distance for the first time in his boxing career. Regardless of the fact that Jake didn't score a knockout, this win was big for him. Tyron put up a good fight for Jake, and he was able to show off what he's been learning in the past few years, that he is actually a good boxer despite being a YouTuber. At the end, the scorecards read 77-75, 75-77, and 78-74, making it a split decision for Jake. But this wasn't the end of the Jake Paul-Tyron Woodley saga. They fought once again after Tommy Fury pulled out of his fight with Jake and Woodley replaced Fury at the last minute. It was during this fight that Jake Paul's exceptional boxing talent was on full display as he defeated Woodley and shut the ex-UFC championship's lights out via a massive knockout in round 6. ESPN and DAZ even awarded the knockout as KO of the year, and Jake, being over the top, stated during a press conference that he has done more than enough. At his age, no one in the history of boxing has even dared to achieve this feat, showing just how outstanding Jake Paul is. October of 2022 was Paul's latest and arguably his biggest to date, going up against UFC legend Anderson Silva. As someone who has experience in boxing, he proved to be one of Jake's toughest opponents, if not the toughest. However, Jake secured yet another win over the legend. He thrashed Silva in Arizona, even scoring a knockout in the 8th and final round. In the end, Jake defeated Silva via unanimous decision as the scoreboard read 78-73 twice and 77-74, taking down his idol turned rival. Jake said the moment felt so surreal that he is the most grateful to Anderson Silva, who was his idol whilst growing up. Jake further mentioned that he may have won against Silva, but he will forever respect him and look up to him as a great source of inspiration. This win against Silva was a great boost for Jake's record to 6-0, and once again he was able to show his talent against a legend. With 2022 coming to an end, who knows what this new year holds for Jake Paul? There is still the potential to fight against Tommy Fury if he ever stops ducking Jake. Fighting Tommy would finally shut up those who say Jake doesn't fight real boxers. So that's a top fight for Jake in our opinion. There is also Hasim Rahman Jr., but the hype for that fight may have gone already. And we know how Jake likes to fight opponents who have clout. Some other potential contenders could include Dylan Dennis and Nate Diaz, as they've been exchanging some words online. There is also Conor McGregor, but this one seems extremely unlikely, as Conor has no business dealing with YouTubers, but has recently taken shots at KSI on Twitter. So, who knows? However, his most anticipated fight can arguably be the one against Mr. Knowledge himself, as it's been long awaited and teased. This fight could be the end-all for who truly is the best in YouTube boxing, and the fans have been waiting for this to happen for a while now. Regardless of who Jake fights, we are excited to see what he does and how far he is able to take himself in the boxing scene. I mean, who knew that Jake could ever go from fighting YouTubers like Gib and Deji to legends like Silva? We hope you enjoyed today's video on Jake Paul's boxing career breakdown. If you liked the video, please drop a like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. If you want to support the channel, we now have a Patreon you can join with the link in the description. We hope to see you on the next one.